Friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to right here at youtube.com/Steve and Larson. Available wherever podcasts can be found, and of course, taped live at the Twitch at twitch.tv/Steve and Larson. And of course, these days also live on YouTube at 11 a.m., 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, pretty much Monday through Friday.
Yep.
Coming up this weekend. We don't have anything coming up this weekend, I don't think.
No, yeah, there's actually nothing really till the Rumble.
But then the Rumble is the next weekend.
No, it's weekend. Wait.
Yeah, it's the next weekend.
Yeah, it is next weekend.
Raw 30 is going to be on Monday, so that's a week from yesterday. Are we still going to do a live watch-along of Raw 30?
Oh, I didn't know we had decided if we were one way or the other. If we really discussed it. I guess
we had thrown it out there, I think. Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. Okay, I'll see.
All right. So on this episode of Going In Raw, we're going to talk about the go-home episode of Raw 30, last night's Monday Night Raw, where we got a new number one contender for the United States title, and Cody Rhodes, Cody flipping Rhodes, his return date has been set. Not terribly surprising, but I know there are plenty of people out there who might not be terribly happy that it's not, at this point, a surprise. We're going to talk about that. Surprise. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit, but first, the saga continues. Vince McMahon's return to WWE. And as Vince McMahon continues to consolidate his power, now that he's back as the executive chair of WWE's board, Sportico is reporting that McMahon has been sued by Detroit's police and fire retirement system. According to Sportico, the suit seeks, quote, a declaration that would effectively block the 77-year-old billionaire from regaining control of WWE's board of directors and prevent him from expediting a sale. The complaint argues that McMahon has breached fiduciary duties as controlling stockholder by trying to, quote, impose his personal will on WWE and its board by purporting to adopt a package of invalid and inequitable bylaw amendments that would hamstring the board from making critical business decisions. Sportico continues, as the police and fire system tells it, McMahon's moves run afoul of both Section 141 of the Delaware General Corporation Law and WWE's charter, altering the company's governance structure in the absence of bargained for exchange between WWE and McMahon. The system asserts usurps the power of the board over critical corporate management functions and vests it solely in McMahon in his capacity as stockholder. Neither Delaware law nor WWE's charter permits the kind of transfer power the system says occurred, and the system wants a declaration the consent is void.
So just to recap, so we're going to get to it here in a moment, that the bylaw amendments were the ones Vince made when he came back, pretty much saying that no TV deal or sale of the company could be negotiated without his input.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, is this the same lawsuit this is the lawsuit that was filed recently, right? The one that we're
No, I think this is a different one.
This is a separate lawsuit?
It might be a separate one, yeah.
Okay. Could be.
It could be. I don't know for sure. I mean, okay. I would expect there's going to be several lawsuits in the coming days and weeks and potentially months as this whole thing goes on. Yeah, I mean, this isn't surprising if stockholders think that what Vince is doing is to benefit himself and not so much them. Then they're not going to be happy about it, and they'll try to exercise whatever legal muscle they can to keep Vince from doing what they think he's going to do to benefit himself more so than the company.
Too much power, they say. That's the bottom line here. Just too much power for one man to have. Unfortunately, this one man owns 80% of the voting stock in the company. Yeah. So this is probably going to be a whole lot of nothing.
I don't know what legal recourse the Detroit police and fire system have to prevent Vince from doing what he wants to do.
I'll be honest with you. If I was a member of the Detroit police force or the firefighter force, I'd probably be suing the retirement system for putting stock in WWE. It's like, come on, man. Like, these are supposed to be safe stock, like entertainment stock. Like, I understand if it was like Disney or something. It's like WWE. Isn't there any due diligence done before you're putting people's retirement plans into freaking WWE stock?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, it's been run by Vince. I get they've, over the years, they've been able to finagle TV deal after TV deal. But if you actually pay attention, it's sort of, I don't know, what is it, despite themselves?
Yeah, they're successful despite themselves. I mean, their stock has been, just in the last few years, incredibly volatile. It's gone as high as like $100 and as low as in the 50s. So, it's been kind of been all over the place. In that respect, I understand.
It's like now you're going to sue, so he starts acting normal. I don't think it works that way, Detroit. But good luck with that.
Yeah, speaking of Vince consolidating power, yesterday WWE issued an SEC filing which revoked the changes, the ones mentioned earlier, made by Vince to WWE's corporate bylaws upon his return. And this filing noted that, quote, no further approval of the stockholders of the company is required to approve any of the actions taken by Mr. McMahon pursuant to the January 16th consent. That being him saying, those bylaws I changed, nope, not going to do it. There's been a lot written about how that seemingly is Vince saying to stockholders, I don't need your approval for anything.
Yeah,
I've seen that contested. That that interpretation of this contested as well, that this is just related to the one thing, those bylaws being changed and him unchanging them, that he doesn't need stockholder approval. I am not a corporate legal scholar. I read this stuff and I feel like I'm reading riddles half the time.
Yeah, right.
So I will let smarter legal minds interpret that probably correctly. But again, it was making news today, this filing. So, there's constant developments in this story, and there will be constant developments in this story until they either sign a new TV deal or Vince sells the company.
I think my takeaway from it is basically, like Enforcer says, he is the stock. I am the stock. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I think, look, I get my main takeaway is this. When you see people commenting on Twitter about what this means, I probably wouldn't put much stock in it, so to speak, unless it's like Brandon Thurston. He kind of knows what he's talking about. So yeah, I don't know. It probably doesn't mean anything, to be honest with you, but it's interesting to sort of understand, or at least try to put a finger on what's going on behind the scenes as the WWE tries to get sold.
I guess here's one aspect of that. This filing here that could be noteworthy is that if him saying that he doesn't need stockholder approval to do this certain thing, is that typical in these scenarios, or is that atypical?
Yeah.
Is this something where he amends the bylaws and then unilaterally undoes the changes? Is that a typical occurrence in corporate governance or not?
I would probably think
if it is, then probably much ado about nothing. But if it's not, I guess maybe that's newsworthy. I don't know.
Yeah, if my thing is, does it affect the bottom line? Bottom line is WWE's trying to get sold. And if here's the thing, like, I wonder if the other shareholders would complain if the WWE got sold for a much larger amount than they were even going for in the first place, and they were able to cash out even more. Like if the Saudi Arabian government ponied up like $5 billion over, what Comcast was going for, and that's like the second highest offer. It's like, well, you're cashing out a lot more now. So I don't know. I mean, this is who knows? So yeah, Jorge D seems to think, I don't know if he's a business analyst or not. He says it's typical for companies. There's no actual law against it, and shareholders can only care when stock loses money, a la Elon Musk. Yeah, that's a mess too.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting to see all this go down in real time.
Indeed.
Tony Vanucci here in chat, in our YouTube chat. What's up, YouTube chat? By the way, hit that like button.
YouTube. Yeah.
He says, I don't know, Steve. He says Disney just lost $1.5 billion in one quarter. WWE probably the safer bet, but year to date, their shit's gone up by like 13%. Over 6 months, 5%. Over 1 month, 17%. Well, that's kind of volatile too. So yeah, who knows?
Who knows? I mean, this isn't a business podcast, and for good reason.
Oh my God, no. Yeah, man, absolutely. Anyways, let's talk about Raw last night. We can do that.
Raw, yeah.
Cody is coming back to the Royal Rumble to the surprise of nobody. But they put together these very nice video packages for Cody to build to this point, making it, in my opinion, look, dude, in my opinion, the surprises, I'll put it this way. There are two times when three times when a surprise is most effective. If somebody is wildly rehabbing their injury, returning from injury way short of expectations. If he was like, I hope to make WrestleMania, but then he shows up at the Rumble. Look at John Cena in 2008, 9, whatever it was.
Yeah.
I think Edge might have done that one year too.
Yeah, he did that too. He was a surprise entrant at 30 in the Rumble. Yeah.
So that's a big deal. If it's an NXT call-up or a legend that isn't with the company, like if RVD showed up this year, then it's like, oh, that's a cool surprise.
Well, also, the AJ Styles situation where someone signs with the company.
Oh, no,
hasn't
you're
been
right.
maybe officially announced by the company, but
that's a very good
their surprise debut. I mean, you can make the argument to keep this as a surprise or not, and they're, equally convincing. If they want to make a story of his return, his rehab, and give him the gruesome nature of the injury that we saw in full display at Hell in a Cell, if they want to make a story about his rehab from that, because we've seen that. We've seen that part of the story where his entire right side of his body was purple from that injury. And they think there's more value from a marketing perspective to tell the story of his return rather than save it as a surprise. I get that. Mm-hmm. Same time, if you want to save it as a surprise that he shows up, I know Edge, when he came back the second time, when he came back from out of retirement, it was a poorly kept secret that he was coming back. Mm-hmm. But they tried. They didn't say anything about it on TV. Mm-hmm. They, in terms of the WWE universe, the world, they kept that a surprise. Mm-hmm. And it was effective. So argument can be made from either point of view. It seems like Cody's interested in telling the story. And so maybe it's a situation where Cody's like, let's tell this story. Let's build to this moment. I think the pop's going to be the same regardless, whether he was a surprise or not. When he shows up, people are going to lose their minds.
I think the only way the pop would have been bigger is if he was exceeding his expectations in his return. Then I think if people were not expecting this at all and they're like, oh, there's no way this is going to happen. And he came back as a surprise, that would have absolutely blown the roof off. But the roof is going to be blown off anyways. It's Cody Rhodes. Exactly. They did a masterful job with that shit when they show him taking off the coat and it's revealed to be all messed up, and then they do it again, now where it's just a little scar right there. Mm-hmm. I thought they did a killer job with these things. They're making them seem like a big deal. And I think this, honestly, dude, I think this is one of those things where every step of the way can be telegraphed. But if he's the first guy to pry one of those world titles away from Roman Reigns, the people will be along for the ride the entire time, and they will pop so loud when it does happen. I firmly believe that.
Oh, yeah. If it's an interesting story and people buy into the process of him getting one or both those titles, yeah. Totally. Yeah. I'm just trying to do something here. Ask, who should be standing in the ring when Cody's music hits? Seth.
Oh, yeah. I think that's probably going to be the case.
Yeah.
It's going to be late. It's going to be late. Seth is probably going to be like the Iron Man or something. Yeah. And then Cody will come out at like number 25 or something, because you want to keep him. You want to be careful with Cody a little bit. But knowing Cody, Cody's probably going to want to show up at number 1. You know?
But there's also something to be said of, okay, Cody's going to be here, but what? Building the anticipation, but the new entrant coming in. Oh, is this Cody? No. Oh, man. Mm-hmm. And you see people in the ring. It was like, oh, this will be interesting. Cody versus this guy versus this guy versus this guy, especially after Seth is in there, building up that anticipation. I can see why they'd want to wait too a little bit. He's not going to be 30, because that just seems like then his road is too easy.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. Yeah, you don't want to do that.
So like somewhere in the middle, 15 to 18.
Yeah, there you go.
No later than that, I would say.
Adrenaline. Yeah, people go crazy for that.
But yeah, it's not surprising they announced it. I guess when he got injured in, was it June, May, I think, that, the math kind of worked out that he'd be a little bit ahead of schedule to return for the Rumble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because he said in this video package, it'd be 9 months. And I think if my math is right, the Rumble will be about 8 months. So a month ahead of schedule. As far as what happened, other things that happened last night on Raw, we got a new number 1 contender for the United States Championship. Bob Lashley won the main event, a really fun match. With the help of MVP and Amos, it didn't necessarily seem like Lashley necessarily wanted their help, but their help he got anyways. And he pinned Seth to win the bout. And he's moving on to get a shot at the U.S. title next week at Raw 30 against Austin Theory. I don't know if... I would assume, given how they're telling the story so far, that MVP and Amos are going to try to make some effort to help Lashley win. Is it going to be a situation where, again, he's like, why are you here? Why are you trying to help me? And that costs him the match. Or if he's like, all right, fine, I'll take your help. Maybe he wins. I don't know. I don't know which direction they're going to take first in terms of telling the story with, are the Hurt Business going to reunite or not? Because we saw Shelton and Cedric lose last night. And, things weren't exactly smooth after the match between the two of them and MVP.
Yeah. This should be a new, improved Hurt Business. You add a Moss to the mix, and then you dump Shelton and Cedric, and you add the Street Profits. That's what you do. And then in a year, you can tell the story of Montez wanting to be the top guy, and then you can have him splint off and feud with Lashley. I think that'd be kind of cool. You got to do something with Street Profits because they're doing like nothing with them. They're getting wins, but this is a case where wins aren't enough. They can win. I mean, they can win their way through the tournament and face the Usos again. We'll talk about the Judgment Day and the Usos, and then on the other side of SmackDown, I know you were on vacation. Did you watch SmackDown or
no?
not?
I didn't have an opportunity to watch it yet. No.
Well, on SmackDown, Drew and Sheamus have been entered as a tag team into a SmackDown tag title tournament. The first, their first opponent is the Viking Raiders. So I'm kind of curious to see, given that apparently it's going to be Dom and Priest taking on the Usos. But they've got this thing where they're hot now, where Priest does most of the work, like all the work.
Yeah,
and then Dom gets the pin. And I don't know if that's how they're going to beat the Usos, or if they're even going to beat the Usos. We'll find out next week. As far as Lashley is concerned, you gotta think there's got to be some sort of prize at the end of the line here for him and Hurt Business. If they're going to get together, they have to help him win, and then he'll understand the point of it, and he'll be U.S. champion again. Yeah. Otherwise, if he ends up losing, unless it's a situation where, look, Lashley will never think. I'll put this out of your head. Lashley will never think, oh, I could have used Hurt Business here against Austin Theory. You know what I mean? Yeah. If he loses against Austin Theory, he's not going to start doubting himself. He's Bobby Lashley. If they actually try to tell that story, it's kind of ridiculous. You know what I mean? I mean, he manhandled Austin Theory twice. Yeah. And if Theory has figured out some sort of, fix for that, and is able to escape that match, then, whatever. But, Bobby Lashley with a crisis confidence, that's just one I don't see.
Unless it's the one where he gains a bunch of weight. Remember he pitched that idea?
That would have been amazing.
That would have been pretty great.
Yeah, that would have been great. It's like Thor. It's like Thor at Endgame. But yeah, make put Street Profits there instead of, because poor Cedric, and Cedric's always been like, hey, let me get back in Hurt Business. Let me get back in Hurt Business. And then he thinks it's going to happen, and MVP's like, no, you guys just lose a lot. Like, Street Profits, they're a bunch of winners, but they could use my guidance and a fresh coat of paint. They can understand how to go from guys who win wrestling matches to, guys who are actual winners, and can get the gold again and all that.
Yeah.
Because right now, especially in the new sort of landscape of WWE where factions are a thing, that's the pitch that could be made. Hey, there's strength in numbers. You guys can get the gold again, but you're probably going to need strength in numbers. Look at how it benefited the Judgment Day. One of their guys went out with the rib injury, and then they had another guy to step up and take his place.
Yeah. We had another match made for Raw 30. Becky Lynch versus Bayley in a steel cage. That'll be really good.
I thought the promo for this was oddly not good.
I agree.
Like it was awkward, and I wonder if this is sort of the situation where they were like, you know what, we're pros, we can go out there and just do this. We've been doing this for long enough. We'll just go out there and wing it. And then you get out there and you're like, what am I gonna say? I'll just call her a Karen. That was old 3 years ago. You can't. That's not.
Yeah, I know.
This was a bit stiff.
It was the beginning, especially. I mean, I feel like towards the end they kind of got it.
I thought the bit where Becky goaded Bayley into the steel cage aspect of it, and Bayley, I thought that was some good character work from Bayley towards the end there when she had to be like, yeah, sure, no problem. But yeah, no, it was kind of stinky.
It's still taken for me a bit of getting used to for Becky kind of playing to the crowd as much as she is right now.
Oh man, she comes out. She's like, she is the crowd at this point. She comes down in the crowd.
Yeah, and making all the references to the Bengals which was a crazy game. The Bengals getting that win on Sunday night, sorry, all that stuff. But It's because, for a year she was just like, I'm a heel, and doing some pretty great heel work. And it seemed like, even though despite she was doing a good job, it was hard for the crowd to boo her. Now it's complete 180, where she doesn't do anything basically for the crowd to cheer her. And it's like, yet she's really playing to the crowd. It's just going to take some getting used to. Not to say she's doing a bad job. It's not what I'm trying to say. It's just for me personally. It's going to take a little bit getting used to still.
Yes. Let us, hold on one second. Why don't you address one of these chats here? Because I have to do something before we pay some bills, Larson.
Very well, very well, very well. We got some other people. What?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, some people talking about who they want to see win the Rumble. Fear Before Flame says, I really hope Gunther wins Rumble, but it's going to be Sammy. I don't know where this... we know where this story probably between Roman and Sami is going, and unfortunately it's not going to involve Sami Zayn winning the Royal Rumble. Seems like he's going to get his crack at Roman at the Elimination Chamber if reports are being believed. As great as the story. There was a great thread on Twitter I saw that you retweeted it. Talking about all the references that Sami and Owens made to their previous matches during their match on SmackDown, and how it's really fleshing out the story they're telling with Sami, especially how it relates to Kevin Owens. It was a really good thread, and if again, Steve retweeted it, so if you haven't got a chance to check it out, definitely do. Gunther, I think it'd be great if Gunther won the Rumble. It's probably 2 or 3 years too early for him to be, it's Cody's year. It's pretty much Cody, or if The Rock somehow agrees to main event Mania and that's the direction they want to go, it's either Cody or The Rock.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And one thing we could talk about here real quick before we pay some bills. So they announced the lineup of superstars, of legends, for Raw 30, but they also said at the head of the show, the Usos announced that there's going to be a acknowledgement celebration for Roman with every generation of the Bloodline.
Yeah.
So you'd assume that, like Roman's dad's going to be there, Rikishi will be there. It leaves the door open for potentially The Rock showing up.
That would be something else. That would definitely be something else. I wonder if they would go that far. I don't know, man. That'd be kind of nuts. That'd be crazy. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But first, Larson, let's go ahead and pay some bills. What do you say?
Let's do it. Let's take a break here. Get a word from our sponsor, ExpressVPN. Steve.
Yes.
Going online with that ExpressVPN is like changing with your windows wide open. Sure. You might not be seen by random people, but why give those random people a chance to invade your privacy?
You see, when you go online without a VPN, internet service providers can see every single website you visit, and then they can legally sell that information to ad companies and those dirty tech giants who then use your data to target you.
Oh, I can't stand it when those ad companies and tech giants target me with ads. I really can't stand it, Steve. I can't stand it. Which is why I use ExpressVPN, because after I fire up their app and hit connect, those internet service providers cannot see my online activity because my data is encrypted for my maximum protection. Plus, ExpressVPN works on all my devices, including my phone, laptop, even my router, so everyone who uses Wi-Fi in my house can be protected.
So secure your online activity by visiting expressvpn.com/GIR today. That's expressvpn.com/GIR, and you can get an extra 3 months for free. expressvpn.com/GIR.
And let's take another quick break here, friendos. This episode of Going in Raw is sponsored by BetterHelp. Steve, it took me quite a while to find out what I'm like when I'm at my best. For a few years in my 20s, I was really feeling overwhelmed by life and started dealing with severe anxiety, and it got to the point where I realized that I needed to go to therapy. Working with the therapist helped me find better ways to cope with my anxiety, empowered me to be more prepared for whatever life throws at me, and set me on the path to hopefully becoming a better Larson.
If you're thinking about giving therapy a try, BetterHelp is a great option. It's convenient, flexible, affordable, and completely online. All you got to do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get you matched up with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge.
If you want to live a more empowered life, therapy can get you there. Visit BetterHelp.com/Raw today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Raw.
Oh man, gotta get that VPN. Oh man. So Raw kicked off with an Usos promo. They come out. Sammy's not with them. Jay's like, Cincinnati, Ohio. The Bloodline's now in your city. And Jay's like, you see what the Wolves are doing every week? We're running SmackDown and Raw. You know, before Solo puts a beating on Ali, we need to address Friday. Kevin Owens, hope you got the message. You can't cross the tribal chief, and at the Rumble, you're going to learn a lesson. Speaking of the chief, we got big plans at Raw 30. Jimmy says, every generation of the Bloodline is going to join us for an acknowledgement ceremony for Roman Reigns. Jay adds, and defend these titles against the Judgment Day because they're twos, we are ones. That brings out the Judgment Day. Rhea says, stop it there. The only thing the Bloodline needs to acknowledge is the Judgment Day runs Monday Night Raw. Finn says, not only do we run the show, last week we ran the gauntlet, now we run straight for you, Bloodline. Yeet. He says, but I'd like to take this moment to thank the ex-con Dom for stepping up for his fallen brother and helping us become number one contenders.
I love this because he starts to like yell number one contenders. He's like,
yeah, number one. Oh, my ribs. So then Priest says, we need you at 100%, Finn. Calm down. He says, next week, those nice red Raw titles are coming permanently back to Monday nights. He says, can I ask you a question? You know how you take out everybody? You ever see him step up to us? That's odd. Why is that? And then Dom interjects. He says, because they're in the ring at this point. He says, you smell that, mommy? I smell fear because they're scared. You scared, Jimmy? You scared, Jay? And they say, scared of who? And they start mocking him because they're like, hey, I say, you know. And they say, for, and it's funny, you know, the Usos, Jimmy at least, I think maybe Jay too, they've been on the insides a couple times, same as Dom. So they say 546 days, every team that stepped out, we took care of. And they start naming all the teams.
Yeah.
And they said, you know what? And we beat you and your dad, Dom, to start the reign. And at Raw 30, he says, welcome. He says, and at Raw 30, welcome to the Uso Penitentiary. Dom says, I hear you talking, but you wouldn't last a minute in the cell with all the prisoners I was in with. And want to know something else? You know what we called an Uso? A wannabe essay. And the biggest wannabe is the street champ back there just standing around doing nothing, talking about Solo. So Solo steps up to Dom. And then Rhea steps in. Her and Solo have a stare down. Solo sort of backs up because he's like, I don't know what to do here. And then he steps right back up to her. Mm-hmm. And then Dom takes a sucker punch at him. Solo headbutts him and they all brawl. Rhea and Solo are in the ring. And out of nowhere, Ali takes Solo out with a dive from the top rope. And then we get a match.
Yep. That leads us to our first bout of the night. While the bout is going, they go to an interview earlier in the day with Mustafa Ali, asking about why did he take this match. He says, you know, everybody else got a chance to fight against the Bloodline. Everybody who the Bloodline took out, everybody else got an opportunity to fight against them except me. Tonight, I'm fighting back. And then at one point during the match, the Usos come from the crowd to come to ringside. Kevin Owens makes his way to the ring as well. They all start fighting. He sends Jimmy into the steps. Ali hits a tornado DDT, gets a 2 count there, misses a 450. And then Solo hits the Samoan spike to get the win. As soon as the bell rings, the match is over. Owens is in the ring, hits Solo with a stunner, then sends him into the ring steps, clears off the announce table, sets up Solo for a running splash off the barricade like Solo did to him on SmackDown. Usos put an end to that. Owens fights the monsters, throwing chairs at the Usos. And eventually security refs and Adam Pearce come down, essentially broken up Bloodline. They go up the ramp.
Yep. After that, we had a Bobby Lashley promo. He's lingering in the locker room, I believe, in this one. He says, put as many former U.S. champs in the ring. There's only one almighty. Make it elimination. They're all going to tap out to the Hurt Lock. He says, Theory, you may think it's more challengers put in my way, but your title reign has an expiration date, and that's at Raw 30. Coming for my U.S. title, and this time, Theory, I'm putting you away for good. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for Theory to lose his title at this point. If he's going to take on Cena at WrestleMania, which seems likely at this point.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you had the U.S. title involved in that,
it would be apropos for the U.S. title to be involved because John Cena's open challenge was that's a well-remembered thing. but it's not
the
necessary.
U.S. title is what got him started to be on the path of being a main eventer too.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That being said, I mean, there's been comparisons drawn with Theory's potential and John Cena. And so I think that's sort of a bigger story you can tell. And Triple H is not afraid to sort of just switch, as long as it's not the Roman titles, he's not afraid to like switch titles here and there and have it, I mean, he's done it with the women's tag titles, I guess. That's sort of the one example where it was like sort of went a couple different places. Yeah. But I don't know. And I think the U.S. titles changed hands a couple times under Triple H, so maybe it can happen again.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. Then we got that Cody Rhodes video package, which culminated him announcing that he'll be back at the Rumble, but we get to see a bit of the rehab process for him. A few shots at the Nightmare Factory. I think it was 4 months in, he started rehabbing there. He says like the first 2 months of rehab felt like 6 years. Patience is not his strong suit. And Brandy says he looks and feels better than ever. And then Cody says, the question isn't if, but when. And that's when he says, at the Royal Rumble, I'm back.
Baby. After that, we had an Alliance interview. Byron's backstage. He's trying to talk to Adam Pearce. He mentions people wanting to declare for the Rumble. Elias walks up, and he declares his intentions. 2022 is a roller coaster. I saw my brother's career explode and implode. Then I lost my best friend. Then I lost to the Bloodline. It's time to right some wrongs. When I get to the Rumble, the Vengeance Tour begins. And he sort of bumps into MVP as he leaves Pierce's office, and MVP mentions not to go in there and talk to Pierce about the Rumble because the winner's already taken care of. Elias mentions that MVP hasn't been relevant in years, and MVP says, well, you know what? Tonight, you can face the 2023 winner. And then Elias says, yeah, it's going to be a tune-up. And then MVP walks off.
Yep. Next, we got Street Profits taking on Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin. About halfway through this bout, MVP walks down the ramp right before a commercial break, down towards the finish. Ford gets the tag, hits a frog splash. Cedric breaks that up. Dawkins gets back in. He and Ford set up for a Doomsday type move on Shelton, but Cedric breaks that up with a chop blocks to Dawkins, and then Shelton hits a suplex off the top. Dawkins breaks up that pin. So Ford kicks Shelton as Dawkins and Cedric tag in. Montez hits Shelton with a plancha. Cedric then hits Ford the suicide dive, and Dawkins hits a tope. So MVP gets on the apron and distracts Dawkins as Cedric and Shelton double team. That was a cool move that Shelton and Cedric did.
Yeah.
And so Cedric goes for the pin, and at 2, Dawkins kind of counters into like a bit of a crucifix to get the win.
Yep. And then you see them arguing with MVP, Benjamin and Cedric. Yeah, man, I don't know. If I'm MVP, I'm looking at the Street Profits, and I'm like, who says no to this? Who says no to this? Yeah. These are the guys that I want. Multiple-time champions, on a winning streak. Try to recruit those guys. After that, we have a Judgment Day interview. Finn says, if anybody's ready for a 6-pack challenge, it's me, Finn Balor. I'm just surprised he didn't make it obvious what he was talking about, right?
To reveal the 6-pack at that moment, yeah.
Then Alpha Academy, shoosh, please. Gable says, I can't believe my cauliflower ears when I heard you clowns talking about how you ran through the Raw tag division last night. He says, no, you barely snuck by us, and you should have been medically disqualified. He said, but tonight we get back the win you guys stole from us last week. And Rhea says, get out of here. And Dom taunts Gable about pumping iron all day and all night in the yard. He says, even I won't be able to hold her back. And as he hides behind Rhea, Gable says, Dom, you should supplement a strong body with a strong mind. But I'm looking at you right now. You need to work on both of them. He says, next time you're in prison, sign up for an Alpha Online course. And then Dom says, hey, man, don't be talking about prison like that. And then Priest says, hey, you need to take a walk. And then Gable says, Otis needs his 10,000 steps. We're going to go for a walk. He said, oh, yeah. That was pretty great. Yeah.
That's pretty great. Then they had that. There was a Twitter video they had up earlier in the day. Those WrestleMania, what's it, 20?
Those were 21. Those 21. Were the best. Those were the best.
And especially looking at Batista.
Right?
Batista, it's there.
It's so there. It is so there. Everybody else, well, like I always liked the Pulp Fiction Eddie and Booker T one. I thought that was really good. But all the De Niro's, there is a one guy who stands out plain as day, and it's Batista.
And he's not even. He's the one that's not doing De Niro.
I know, right? Yeah.
The riff on the "you talking to me" thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What's my line?" And they say, "You talking to me?" And he's like, "No, really. What do you mean?"
Yeah.
Like seriously, what's my line?
That's really good stuff. Yeah.
It was pretty great.
After that, we had this Becky Lynch thing. I'm going to just sort of break this down and not go verbatim.
That's fine, because it's very long.
Becky comes down through the crowd. Like you said, I don't want to say panders, but she kind of panders to the crowd, does the cheap stuff, talking about Cincinnati and all that kind of stuff. So anyways, Damage Control comes out. Bayley, of course, being from the Bay, has a 49ers jersey on. So Becky's, this was kind of weird. I understand going to like history for motivation for a feud, right? I get it. But Bayley's main problem is that she was stuck in NXT back in 2015 and Becky was chosen to go to main roster. Like there's been so much that's happened since then. I feel like I actually think that a lot of Bayley's motivations since coming back have been pretty solid. She wants to put the spotlight on others, even though she's a bad guy. So that kind of means as long as she's on top, you know?
Yeah.
But like going back all the way to 2015 with everything that's happened, like Bayley's a multiple time champion. I mean, obviously so is Becky. But like, I don't know. I was like, okay, I applaud the effort for digging back in history, but I'm like, dude, that was 8 years ago. That was a long time ago that all that went down. I don't know that it's like that's the truest motivation that they could have used here is my point.
I mean, it's something. I get it. You know, if the idea is that Bayley, who was even in 2015, a pretty massive star in NXT, she didn't get called up, but Becky and you know, no disrespect to Becky, because as we see in the main roster, she's won everything.
She was not a big deal in NXT.
She was not booked at the same level as Sasha, Charlotte, or Bayley in NXT. I mean, it actually felt like that she didn't really find who her character was till she got to main roster.
Yeah.
In a lot of respects. So I get that. I mean, I understand. I know Bayley is highly accomplished, as is Becky. But I get, you know, Bayley's thesis is everything that you got, Becky, I should have got, but instead you got called up instead of me. And while, you know, Bayley again won a bunch of titles, done a lot of awesome stuff, never made event at WrestleMania. You know, the crossover stuff that Becky has done. If Bayley's thesis is all that you have, Becky, in your career should have been mine, I get that.
Yeah, but here's the problem with that. She had everything. Like the one thing that maybe she doesn't have is the crossover stuff. And it's she's never main event in Mania. I mean, come on. Like how much more do you want? Like to me, it seems a little thin because she is so accomplished. She's still, I think, the longest reigning SmackDown Women's Champion that there's been.
CM Punk still has a chip on his shoulder for not main eventing WrestleMania.
If this was still under Vince, I would actually applaud this. I would. But my standards are a little higher now under Triple H. And I just feel like you could mine this there's so much more that's happened so much more recently that you really could have gone to. If our job is to approach this from a critical lens, then that's what I'm doing right now. Like I said, I appreciate them going to history. I'm just saying, going back all the way to 2015, if Bayley had accomplished nothing, or if she had brought this up in 2017 while she was still stumbling around, if this was her initial heel turn motivation, perfect, great. That's awesome, because Bayley stumbled when she first got to main roster as sort of the good guy character, because Vince didn't know what to do with that. But like, it's been forever, and Bayley is incredibly accomplished. That's my main point of contention here.
All right, fair enough.
So, anyways, So
this all leads to so they have that kind of debate, and Bayley says, "Well, Becky, the only reason you're the man is because you're punched in the face by another woman," referencing Nia Jax punching Becky in the face prior to Survivor Series a few years back. And Becky goes, "Oh, that's original. I've never heard that one before." She says, "Maybe I should punch you in the face, or are you going to keep hiding behind these two?" And Bayley says, "I don't need them. I didn't need them when I beat you. I don't need them then. I didn't need them now. I didn't need them then." And Becky says, "So you'll face me 1-on-1 next week, huh?" And Bayley goes, "Yeah, no problem." And then Becky says, so you'll face me without them ringside. Yeah, no problem. So you'll face me in a steel cage match next week. And Bayley pauses a little bit and just goes, no problem.
I like this moment from Bayley. I thought this was a really
there's
good
a lot less
moment,
confidence in her saying no problem in response to the cage match.
She is really good, and that's why I think I hold them to like a bit of a, especially Bayley. Bayley is out of the 4 horsewomen. She's my favorite. And I just hold her to a higher because I know her character record or her character work is so good that I love when she does this because she plays the arrogant heel who obviously has a lack of confidence in herself so well. I mean, that's because that's kind of a layered thing, you know, to have so much, to be so arrogant and yet to obviously have such, you know, issues with yourself. I think it's a not an easy thing to portray, and I think she does it really, really well. But yeah, I thought this was fine. The last part of it anyways. After that, we had Dolph warming up backstage. Ali walks up and says, good luck again in the main event. But no, don't pay attention to me. The guy you screwed over the U.S. title, the guy you refused to tag with in Tag Team Turmoil, must be so good to be you, Dolph Ziggler, a guy who gets every opportunity handed to him. And Dolph is like, he says, nobody gets things handed to him around here, kid. From one professional to another. I don't have time to pay attention today. And then Ollie like fucking forearms him in the back of the head.
Yeah.
And he says, do I have your attention now? And Dolph just stares at him. End scene.
End scene, yeah. So they going to fight, then be a tag team?
I don't know. I like the idea of Ali and Cedric as a tag team better, but I guess they're going to do the Hurt Business thing instead.
Yeah, that could be. Who knows? Then we got Elias versus Amos. So Elias gets his entrance during the commercial break. He's in the ring when MVP comes out, and it's like, oh, MVP says, you seem confused. Thought you were facing me? Sorry, Mr. Rock and Roll Man. We had a communication breakdown. And lately things haven't gone well, but they're going to get worse. You're facing the 2023 Rumble winner, but it's this man, and then it's Amos who comes out.
It's never the big man. Big man doesn't win Rumbles, man. When's the last time a big man won a Rumble, Larson? Who won that? Who won the first? Hacksaw Jim Duggan won the first one, right?
Yeah, but Big John Studd, I think, won the second one.
Well, okay. All right. Well, there you go. They started off strong, the big men.
Yeah, I did appreciate that MVP throwing that Zeppelin reference in there for
Elias. Yeah, absolutely.
For Elias, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, if the Royal Rumble match was simply Amos versus Elias, then yeah, Amos would win totally. But
easily, because he won this match
as we saw here.
Easily.
Yokozuna, there we go. Thank you. Who is this? Pontus Olsen here.
Pontus Olsen, yeah.
In chat.
That's right. True World Order says Braun won the greatest Rumble.
Yeah, I guess that's canon. It's probably gonna be super canon here in a little bit. Did Brock win last? Oh yeah, I guess Brock did win, huh? Okay. Well, that's Brock though. That's different.
Yeah.
He's a super big man.
Anyways, Amos wins this pretty easily. Even though Elias does try to mount a bit of a comeback at the end with some jumping knees. He goes to the top rope. Amos just hits him with the choke bomb off there.
And Drew McIntyre won one too, I guess. So.
Yeah. Well, I guess when you say like big men, like 7 foot.
I'll move the goalpost. 7 footers.
There you go.
7 footers don't win.
Undertaker, I think for a spell was billed as being 7 feet, but
what's Drew billed as? Like 6'9",
6'5",
like that? 6'5". Okay. All
yeah,
right.
and after seeing Drew in person, he is a mountain of a man.
He's a big dude.
He is enormous.
Yeah, big fella. Yeah.
But I guess when I hear, hey, big men never win the Rumble, my idea is like, oh, it's like, I don't know, 6'8" and up,
Whenever I hear big men winning Rumbles, I always just think of like, Big Show or whatever being tossed out by the whole field.
Exactly. Exactly.
They don't do that. That always happens.
Like everybody just gangs up on the super tall guy and they just toss him out of the ring. Yeah. Yeah. That's what always happens. It always happens.
I know. It's what always happens. Unless, look, of course Brock Lesnar's going to win the Rumble. Of course it's Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, but Brock Lesnar's not 6'8".
No, he's not. He's like, what, 6'4", something like that?
He's probably 6'4". Again, mountain of a man. He's huge.
Scary dude. Yeah, scary guy.
He is. Yeah. Yes. So then we get a Adam Pearce interview. Byron's asking him about Raw 30, and Pearce says, I can promise you Raw 30 is going to be unforgettable. Think about it. Tonight's 6-way elimination match with 6 stars all competing for a shot at the U.S. title to get that shot on Raw's 30th anniversary. Massive. Huge. Then Tozawa walks in saying, I want in the Rumble. And Pearce pretty much says, well, I understand that. You got to earn your spot, though. And Tozawa says, well, give me a match.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll show you I deserve to be in the Rumble. And Pierce says, all right, I'll give you a match. And if you win, it's not winning you're in. Win, it'll go a long way in terms of helping your case.
Mm-hmm.
So Tozawa says, all right, let's get ready to Rumble. And then he leaves.
Yeah. Unfortunately, his opponent was Bronson Reed. We'll get to that in just a second here. First up, we had Judgment Day versus Alpha Academy. And again, sort of the point of this was there's a lot of fun stuff going on in this match because now that Alpha Academy are kind of good guys, Otis is doing the Caterpillar stuff and Gable's just doing all the babyface stuff. But yeah, this is like it was basically Alpha Academy versus Damian Priest. Yeah. That top rope or second rope choke slam.
Choke slam? Yeah, that was crazy.
That was awesome on Otis. That was really cool. So yeah, at one point Gable gets Dom locked up in an ankle lock. Let's see here. Where am I here? Priest with a boot as Dom blind tags in. Otis squashes them both. Otis is setting up for Caterpillar. He hits it and tags Gable. Looks for a Vader bomb. Dom takes out Gable on the apron, but Gable hits a T-bone to Dom. Priest hits a South of Heaven off the top to Otis. Gable with the Chaos Theory to Priest, and then an ankle lock on Dom. Rhea gets up on the apron to distract the ref, and then Priest choke slams Gable, and Dom just sort of rolls over very slowly, gets that pin on Gable to get the win for Judgment Day.
Yep. Again, the build momentum for Judgment Day in advance of their tag title bout next week. So I'll be really interested to see where this goes because I'm not entirely sure. You would expect the Usos are going to retain. But who knows? A couple of people here are saying, remember this from 2000, that Big Show technically
well, they did that thing
2000,
where
2004. 2000 it was against The Rock. They were the final two. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and then Rock came back like 15 years later or whenever it was. It was not that long ago backstage, and he was like, hey, Big Show, I went back and watched that Rumble again. He says, you know what? You won it. I was, you totally won it. And Big Show started crying.
I remember that, yeah. Is that the scene where he's just going through backstage and like talking to various people?
Yeah, he was like being hella rude to Lana.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, made Big Show cry. Anyways, this was cool because Io Sky got her music back. She didn't just have to use the Damage Control theme song. She had a solo match against Mia Yim. Candice LeRae came down to help out Mia Yim to help even up the odds.
Given the results of this bout, you got to assume that Mia and Candice are going to be the next contenders for the tag titles.
Would seem to be the case because Mia Yim gets the win here over Io Sky with an eat defeat as Candice helps out with Damage Control. After the match, Damage Control tries to attack Mia Yim, but Candice is able to fight them off. So yeah, that'd make for a hell of a team right there, man.
Yeah, agreed.
Candice and Mia Yim.
Then Bianca Belair comes to the ring for a promo. Says, I know it's only been a couple weeks, but I missed y'all so much. If it was up to me, I would never miss an episode of Raw. But with this job, it's not possible without risk. Like the risk of getting my face busted open on the ring steps. But after all that, I would still face Alexa again and again and again and again. With every risk comes the reward of remaining your Raw Women's Champion. So the crowd's chanting EST. EST. So she says, Alexa, I might not have been here last week, but I heard everything you said, so I wonder if you have the guts to come say it to my face. So Alexa's music hits. She got another new song.
Yeah, it's like
Tron is now just the giant render of her.
Yeah, she's selling supplements like Raquel Rodriguez.
Yeah.
It's just a sister PNG up there.
It is.
And then, yeah, like she's got another new song, but it's just like another mashup.
It's the basic idea of
because it still has those same. Well, yeah, I know, but it's still like once the intro stops, it still does this stand up, shut up, or whatever it is. Sit down, shut up. But I can't stand that theme. Right. Yeah,
still opens with that like the original theme did. Just didn't have the dubstep. Whoa.
They just take all the old stuff and ram it into one thing. It's really
exactly
not that
exactly.
Good,
so Alexa comes out on the ramp, doesn't get in the ring. Says, Bianca, I will gladly repeat myself for you or anyone else who needs to hear it. You fear me because you don't know what to expect from me, but let me let you in on something. The Rumble is in a couple weeks, and Bianca interrupts her and says, all right, you're really going to wait a couple weeks and try to beat 28 other women to get a title shot, or are you going to face me at the Rumble for the title? And Alexa asks, what's the catch? And the Bianca starts to leave the ring and says, you're the only one who wanted control, so the choice is yours. And so Alexa thinks about it for a moment, says, I'll see you at the Rumble. And then Bianca says, And you'll see me tonight, too, as she runs out there and they start throwing hands.
In real life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so she chucks her into the barricade and then the apron. She's just wrecking her. Bianca misses an attack and goes over to the barricade, but pops up behind Bliss like a horror movie and drags her over, and they fight in the crowd. Bianca sets up 2 chairs back to back and sets up Bliss for a KOD, but then sort of in like a corridor, like mid-crowd area.
It's like the entrance tunnel to get into the seating area from the concourse.
Yeah, right. Comes like a bunch of light and fog, and it's Uncle Howdy. He's coming out of the bathroom. He's got some toilet paper on his stuck to his
Who
foot.
knows if he actually washed his hands or not.
Uncle Howdy comes out and says, "Revel in my beef."
Yeah,
He's like, "Don't go in there for 20 minutes." So anyways, Bianca's understandably freaked out by this. Bliss is able to use that distraction and hit a DDT.
it
on
isn't
the
really
floor.
understandable to be freaked out by it.
I mean, it's wrestling, so anything out of the norm is free. Is people freak out over. Yeah, but that's a good point. So, anyways, Bliss just stares back at Howdy, and he's like, "Whew, it stinks."
Yeah, maybe all the hand gestures he does when he's not grabbing his lapels, trying to move the air around him so he can't smell his farts.
He's like, you guys need to stay away from me right now. They're like, "Stop wafting, dude."
It's like when you do this to try to get your own. Yeah.
Bianca got freaked out because she got a whiff of what he was cooking.
That could be. So then Alexa escapes the KOD attempt, hits Bianca with a DDT on the floor, and she just kind of stares at Uncle Howdy while he's hands on lapel and all that kind of stuff.
Wafting his beef.
Then we got Bronson Reed versus Akira Tozawa. Tozawa got a little bit of offense here, but this was 90% Bronson getting all his stuff in. Man, that power bomb onto the edge of the barricade, that was rough.
Ooh, man.
Oof.
He threw him over there. Yeah, that was gnarly.
Oof. Yeah, Bronson pretty much wrecked Tozawa here. Ends up hitting a tsunami to get the win. I know Bronson Reed hasn't had a lot of matches, but I appreciate what they're doing with him so far. It's not like he's coming in being Miz's friend again. No. If you want my services, Miz, pay me. Otherwise, I'm just going to go out there and wreck people.
Wreck people. Yeah, just have him wreck people. He'll get over big time. Have him do a good showing in the Rumble. Mm-hmm. You know what? If I'm Pierce, too, I'd be like, Tozawa, you can be in the Rumble. You just took an ass whooping. So, your payment for that will be in the Rumble. Yeah. He seems enthusiastic enough. Let him in there, Pierce. Make it official.
I agree. I agree.
Plus, it's like restitution for all those years wearing that stupid ninja outfit.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, have Tozawa be in there regardless.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Been doing great work.
Yeah.
Then we got Seth Rollins' interview. And he says, "Just when I think I'm out, the U.S. title pulls me back in." He says, "I was going to Mania, but officials called and said, it's Monday. We need you." I said, "Wait. We are in Cincinnati, the town that loves to party, the town that loves to sing." So I said, "Yes, old plan out, new plan in. I win tonight. Next week I win. I go to San Antonio, win the Rumble, and go to main event of Mania where I kick Roman's ass like only I can." In the words of Freddie Mercury, "I want it all. I want it all. Now.
I want it now." It's your favorite Queen song, dude.
It might be Killer Queen.
Same, dude. Same.
Yeah.
She's a killer queen.
And they says laser beam, and it has a laser beam type of sound.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, come on.
I know. It's a great song, dude. She gets a moving. I don't even know the lyrics, man. Anyways, that's a hard song. I would think that's a hard song to karaoke. I've tried to sing it along with the lyrics, and even that is difficult.
Yeah. There's a lot going on. They jam a lot into that song.
Yeah, they do. They really do. It's an impressive song.
It really is. They recorded that fairly early in their career, if memory serves.
You see that movie?
No,
I didn't watch that movie. I heard that it's like wildly off from like what shit that actually happened. They always got to do that with those biopics.
They do that. Yeah, they tend to do that.
They just change everything in life. We had a Raw 30 promo, which featured, of course, Becky and Bayley in a cage. Usos Judgment Day for Raw titles, Raw tag titles, the acknowledgement ceremony, and then we got Flair, Undertaker, Kurt Angle, DX. Of course, they all work there.
Yeah, I know.
And then it's like, oh, wow, Shawn Michaels is going to be there. He's there every week on NXT. And then, of course, you got the U.S. title match.
Yes. Yeah. That is shaping up to be a good show. Maybe The Rock will be there. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Then we got our main event. A 6-way elimination match. Winner, number 1 contender for the U.S. title, get their match next week. Miz, not surprisingly, first out. It was a really good match. It's really good.
You know what I appreciate about this match? First time I can think of in a while that I've seen somebody get pinned after a finish, stare at the ref, and you get the entire 3 count. Baron Corbin, when he got pinned, he was staring right at the ref. 1, 2, 3. And he was out. I was like, wow. Interesting.
Interesting. That is interesting. You never see that. I did like the bit because the Miz gets eliminated first. So he puts a figure 4 on Dolph, and Dolph eventually reverses the pressure. And then shortly after that happens, Seth comes in out of nowhere, hits a stomp on Miz, pins him, while Dolph is really selling leg because he was just the figure 4.
Oh, that was really cool, yeah. Yeah, there were a bunch of little bits like that, yeah. Yeah, this was the finish to this match was booked. So you could tell, because Triple H seemingly really likes to book fun, like convoluted finishes to matches. Yep. This was that, but it was wildly fun because Moss comes down and then he enters into the fray and then everything just goes crazy.
Yeah, it does. So Dolph's out second. This is all before Moss and MVP come down the ring. So Dolph, let's see here. So there's a bunch of like high flying stuff that happens. Dolph does a splash off the top onto everybody on the floor. Dolph puts Corbin back in the ring. Baron's looking for a power bomb. Dolph escapes that, hits him with a super kick. He hits Lashley with a zigzag, hits Finn with a super kick, and then Seth hits Dolph with a pedigree. Dolph is out. So then later on, Lashley hits Finn with a suplex, and really, commentary and Finn is really working over the damaged ribs story. So MVP walks out with the Moss, and Lashley is like, "What are you guys doing here?" So Corbin's in the ring. He hits Lashley with a huge clothesline. Finn hits Corbin with a sling blade. And then Seth clothesline Corbin out of the ring. So then Finn hits Lashley with the shotgun drop kick, hits the coup de grace. And as soon as Finn hits that and is starting to get back on his feet, Seth hits the stomp, covers Finn. Finn is out.
Yeah, that was cool.
So Seth is looking for a stomp on Corbin. Corbin evades, pulls Seth out of the ring. Seth super kicks Corbin. Amos grabs Seth and sends him over the announce table. And so he looks at Corbin, and Corbin's like, "Not my problem. Not getting involved in this." He gets back in the ring. He gets speared by Lashley. Corbin's out. So then Lashley gets up from pinning Corbin. Is like, "What are you doing here, MVP? What is this?" And MVP just stands and applauds Lashley. So while that's all going on, Theory leaves commentary, blasts Lashley with the U.S. title. Amos grabs Theory by the throat. He's trying to choke slam him, but Theory stands on the announce table, blocks, and kind of pulls Amos over the announce table. Seth comes over, stomps Amos on the announce table, and then Seth leaps off the announce table, tackles Theory on the floor, clotheslines them into this timekeeper area. He gets back in the ring, sets up for a stomp. MVP gets on the apron. Seth super kicks him. He turns around, spear from Lashley to get the win. Yeah. And Lashley is your new number 1 contender for the U.S. title.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun, man. This is a really, really fun ending.
It was a fun
bout,
yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and take some questions from our patrons on patreon.com/Steve and Larson. Real good way to help support Going in Raw on the Patreon. We do have 2 new patrons, Cruz and Mike Gould.
Thank you. Thank
you very much for your support. We appreciate it. Let's go ahead and open up these questions, see what people have to say. Gregory Mullen says, do you think announcing Cody would be in the Rumble means he's less likely to win now? No, I don't think so. I think that he's the man. I think that's going to happen. Yeah. I know he's currently in the betting odds. He is also the favorite, followed by The Rock.
Yeah,
not surprising.
I mean, if Cody doesn't win, and if The Rock's not in the match, I'd be pretty blown away. The only way I can see Cody not winning is if they decide they're going to have The Rock win. Otherwise, I'd be pretty shocked.
The only other person I'd be like, oh, that's not shocking, would be Finn Balor. I think Triple H really loves Judgment Day, man. They're everywhere. Yeah, they're all over the place. I know. Speaking of which, Blake Whitehouse says, if the Judgment Day beat the Usos for the Raw Tag Titles next week, would it lower the impact of Owens and Zayn beating the Usos in their story? Well, yeah. Because whoever beats them first, it's going to be a pretty big deal.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I think at this point, man, with everything that happened on SmackDown and with everything the way the Bloodline stuff is going, I don't even know at this point if, however the Bloodline plays out with Seth, Kevin Owens, and Roman Reigns and the Usos, I don't even know. Like, I know people fight over titles. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I don't know if Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn winning titles needs to be a thing. Their story is so much deeper than that, and Sami's story is so much deeper than that, that I don't know if the titles have to be the thing because the story is already so dense with these people.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Like, maybe there's something to be said about Sami costing Roman Reigns his title in a match against somebody else, perhaps. But yeah, I don't know. I have no idea how that story's going to go, man. I really don't.
No, I don't either. Cruz says, we know who sells the best Stone Cold Stunners, but who sells the best Kevin Owens Stunner? It's hard not to say Pat McAfee, especially if he's pouring. Oh, no, that was Stone Cold that gave him that Stunner. Never mind.
I have not noticed. I have not noticed anybody like really outstanding, like that really stands out.
Yeah.
With Kevin Owens stunners. Oh, people are saying Buddy. I think I saw that on Twitter the other day.
Oh, all right.
I think I saw that on Twitter.
I still feel like the best sell of the Stone Cold Stunner is Scott Hall. Gosh, that was great.
Yeah.
Wasn't over the top. It was just really good.
Yeah, it was. I agree with that. I saw something trippy the other day. It was because I don't remember them interacting much at all, but there was a Twitter video of like a dark segment from like a Raw, and it was Steve Austin getting beat up by the NWO, and then Hogan makes the save, and then Austin stuns Hogan. And I was like, I do not remember that shit at all. Because Twitter wasn't around back in 2002.
No.
Anyways, Nick Kyle says Uncle Howdy shows up in the arena during the Shield's entrance. Which other two of your favorite Going In Raw, W Steve W Fun Wrestling wrestlers do you pair with Uncle Howdy to form their Shield faction? Oh, doing the Shield's entrance. Okay. Uncle Howdy.
Gotta be Top Notch Super Best.
Top Notch. And like Mecha Santa, of course.
Uh-huh.
And then Rawgate, and then they're facing off against Rawgate Mutant.
Mm-hmm.
And who else?
Ice Cream Man.
Ice Cream Man.
Yeah.
And then nude Drew McIntyre.
I was going to say Flesh Mech. Daniel Bryan.
Wow, so he's teaming with Rawgate.
For one night only, yeah.
Holy
teaming
crap.
up against Rawgate Mutant, yeah.
The history between those two. Let's see here. Luis Areza, what numbers are the winners going to come out at? I think it'd be rad. You want some heat? Rhea Ripley comes out at 30. Liv Morgan survives everybody, and then Rhea Ripley dispatches of Liv Morgan.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But yeah, I think what you said about Cody's probably right. Like 15 to 18.
15 to 18. No more, no later than 20.
Mm-hmm. Have Cody. How about this? He comes out like midway, so it's impressive, but not that impressive. But what's impressive is he alone eliminates Amos.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. I think Rhea somewhere in like 25 or so. She comes out pretty late and then cleans house. I think that'd be pretty cool. Yeah, Liv being the Iron Woman would be something. She
has talked about being number one so much.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could see her lasting a really long time.
Yeah.
Peter Lewins. Which legend are you most excited for next week? The announced ones feel like a bit of a letdown. I mean, who else? I mean, yeah, if The Rock shows up, that'd be a big deal.
That'd be a massive deal. That'd be a massive deal. Cameron Bartolazzo says, do you think Alpha Academy is about to turn face? They're getting a pretty good reaction against Judgment Day. It seems to be going in that direction, yeah.
Oh, I think that's what they're doing. Yeah, you can't have a dude do the Caterpillar and not be a face. Yeah, I think that's pretty much happened. Cat Dad 7 says, what's one wrestler you just never got what all the hype was about? He says for him it was Goldberg. As a teenager with the streak going on, I didn't see what was the big deal. As I'm getting closer to 40, I still don't.
I never really Was never really into Goldberg.
Yeah. I think I was into Goldberg mainly sort of as an irony thing. It was like, oh, he's like the Ultimate Warrior of the day. Like, I don't care about this guy. He can't wrestle for shit. But I think it's funny whenever a wrestling company trots out like an Ultimate Warrior type, you know?
Yeah.
Dude, there's a million people in like the mid-aughts, like Mr. Kennedy. People loved him. They loved him. Like he's just a guy with a microphone. He has a decent voice. I never got it. I was watching. I think I was either watching like an Impact flashback or something. I don't know. It was like a TNA thing. Mm-hmm. And Mr. Anderson came down to confront Sting and Kurt Angle for some reason. And he just looks like a guy. He doesn't have. I never personally thought that he had that camera charisma, the thing that really stands out on a person and how it translates to camera. There's just some people who just have that thing. Mm-hmm. I never understood, but people loved him. I don't know what the deal with that was.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Where were we? David Matushik, considering that multiple legends are announced for Raw's 30th anniversary, how do you think they should be booked without taking the spotlight away from younger talent? Younger talent goes over in every segment.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll put it this way. I don't know, but I have faith that Triple H will use them better than Vince did. Alex Foster says, who should be the next wrestler to feud with Bray, who's completely different from him? He says, oh, this is a great one. The Maximil models. That's good. Oh, here we go. See, here we go. Penny Lopi here in chat says, oh, I love Mr. Kennedy. He's got a great charismatic body. Work isn't too phenomenal, but it seemed to be the floundering due to lack of character. Great promo. Meh worker probably would have been more suitable for acting. See, here's the thing, though. You just said you love Mr. Kennedy, but you just ran him down better than I did. Oh, man. Yeah, who should feud with Bray?
Wagner.
Hey, Bray Blow. You're no big deal. Uncle Howdy. I'm Dumpster Champ. Hey, here's my Uncle Wagner.
Calls him Bob Howdy.
Hey, Bob Howdy. Hey, Captain Howdy. Jack Napier says, with the Hurt Business seemingly reforming, do you think Carmelo Hayes will join the group if he's called up? I mean, look, if they got a tag team, I think that'd be cool. Mm-hmm. I don't know that, I'm trying to think if I'd rather have Carmelo on his own or like be with Trick. I think I'd probably prefer that, to be honest with you, as long as you did something really cool with them. Yeah.
Their chemistry is outstanding. It'd be a shame if they got called up to main roster, but not together.
I agree. I totally agree. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you might need like your mid card guy, but if Lashley's going to be U.S. champion, that's sort of, I don't know what you do with a mid card guy then.
Yeah, no, I know.
Tokane87 says, what's the hornier wrestling show name? Raw, Triple X, or Going in Raw? Well, Triple X is like the ultimate in horniness. It's like it really is, the phrase for
it's like brand name horniness. Yeah. It's like the Kleenex of horniness.
Yeah, Xerox, right. It's the Xerox of horniness. Yeah. Yeah. High Plains Drifter. I will get that to you, High Plains Drifter. I keep on forgetting. I'll try that today. Mondo says, do you think if Vince is ever pushed out completely, we could ever see sort of unofficial trades happening between WWE and AEW?
No.
We'll let this guy out of her contract if you let their guy out of theirs. I'd be really surprised by that.
Yeah, I'd be pretty shocked if that ever came to pass.
At that point, I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked and surprised.
Shocked and surprised. Dan Daniels here says, like WrestleMania 21, what movie parodies would you like to see with the current superstars leading up to this year's WrestleMania?
Oh, man. What a great question.
Oh, I want to see somebody do Al Pacino's bit in The Irishman.
Yeah.
You charge when they have the gun, run away when they have a knife.
You run away with a knife. That's my son.
You see what we did there? Charge them.
I'd like, I don't know, a scene from the Pacino De Niro scene from Heat where they're at a restaurant.
Yeah.
And, it's sad. They never really wrote any memorable dialogue. Like there was one line that De Niro had is like, never become so attached to something you can't leave them within 30 seconds.
Yeah.
That was kind of memorable, but it wasn't like the most memorable scene, that it should have been.
No.
I don't know. I'd do what's a scene out of The Godfather that you could recreate with wrestlers?
I mean, there's a lot.
There's a lot of great scenes in that movie.
There's a lot of fantastic scenes.
Who'd you do? Well, Roman would have to be Brando, right?
Yeah.
In the Bloodline, what is it? Roman is Brando. Roman's the Godfather.
Jay would be Sonny.
Jay the hothead. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What is Sammy Michael? Only if is he going to take over? There's no. I guess Solo. Who's Solo? Was there an enforcer character? Clemenza?
Well, who would be I guess who is Michael? Who's Fredo?
Yeah, Fredo. I mean, you'd think that Sammy's Fredo, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then, I don't know. I mean, one is easy, and that's what was the name? Robert Duvall's character. That's Paul. That's Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
He was the consigliere.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. I don't know. This is a good question that I'm finding it.
I would say. Yeah, I don't know for Michael because I don't know. That's the tough one.
The thing is, there's no clear heir apparent to Roman Reigns. Luca Brasi was the muscle. Yeah. Anyways, it's a great question, but I'll have to push on that one for now.
Yeah, think about that one.
Judgment Day in a movie.
About Judgment Day and Breakfast Club.
That's not bad. That's actually not bad. Judgment Day and Daisy Confused.
Yeah.
Rhea Ripley as Matthew McConaughey's character. All right. Oh, that's good. That's good. There will be blood. Would Roman Reigns be Daniel Plainview and There Will Be Blood? I'm an oil man.
That'd be good.
The Bandy tract. The Cody Rhodes tract.
I've got a competition in me.
I drink your milkshake, Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
It's got a bowling pin. Yeah. Anyways, that's going to do it for the show today. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow for our NXT review and no doubt more news from the saga of Vince McMahon trying to sell the company. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.